Developing today. Royal sources admit that King Charles is dying.
Something extraordinary is happening inside Buckingham Palace tonight. Royal insiders now admit what many feared: King Charles III is dying. Behind the calm royal facade, the monarch's cancer battle is worsening, and his frailty has become impossible to ignore. Yet, those closest to him insist he has no intention of abdicating. Like his late mother, Queen Elizabeth II, Charles has vowed to serve until his final breath, determined to honor the ancient oath he took before God and the nation. But within the royal household, power is shifting. As the king's health declines, Prince William is stepping quietly but decisively into control. He now influences key decisions shaping the future of the monarchy, especially those concerning Prince Andrew, Prince Harry, and Meghan Markle. The changing of the guard is happening, not by proclamation, but by circumstance. Foreign policy expert and royal commentator Lee Cohen, writing for The Spectator and The Daily Telegraph, dismissed the idea of abdication, saying British monarchs, unless incapacitated, never quit. It's very un-British, he insists. History agrees. From George V to George VI, from Edward VII to the late Queen Elizabeth II, monarchs have ruled until their final day. Even in her last hours, the late Queen fulfilled her duty greeting a new Prime Minister only 2 days before her death. For King Charles, the path is the same, but the world around him has changed. In this new age of social media, the king's visible decline is no longer hidden. Every public appearance sparks concern. Every photograph fuels speculation. And as Dan Wootton points out, the British media's silence is no longer sustainable. Pretending the king's health crisis doesn't exist, he argues, is doing a disservice to the public and to history itself. Gone are the days when royal illness could be hidden. American newspapers once reported the truth while the British press remained silent. But now, the palace cannot conceal what the world already sees. King Charles was the first to break royal precedent by revealing details of his prostate treatment, a gesture toward transparency that marked a new royal era. Now, that honesty stands as both his strength and his burden. The world watches a monarch fighting to fulfill his vow while time slips away. His reign may be short, but his commitment remains unshaken. As the torch begins to pass quietly, inevitably to Prince William, Britain faces a defining moment. Is this the dawn of a new chapter or the final act of a royal era? Let's listen to what Dan Wootton and Lee Cohen have to say before we continue. Then share your thoughts. Should King Charles hold his throne to the very end, or is it time for Prince William to lead the crown into a new age?
Royal sources admit that King Charles is dying, but insist that he will not abdicate, and that the monarch intends to follow the lead of his late mother and serve until the last moment of his life. That said, there is a growing acknowledgement that amid the king's cancer battle, amid his worsening health, which has been very apparent as we've seen him this week, power is slowly moving to the heir, as Prince William has, in some ways, now more influence over the future shape of the British royal family, and that absolutely relates to the role specifically of Prince Andrew, Prince Harry, and Meghan Markle. Now, Lee Cohen is a foreign policy expert and a royal commentator for The Spectator, The Daily Telegraph, and Fox News. When Ben on Wire reported this week that there are rumours circulating that King Charles's health is much worse than what we've been led to believe, and the question was posed, should the king pass the reins to Prince William sooner rather than later, he wrote, British monarchs, unless they are pathetic like the Duke of Windsor, don't quit. It's very un-British. Unless incapacitated, he must carry on to the end. And Lee Cohen joins me now. Now, Lee, the British mainstream media are not going there in terms of Charles's health. That is a decision they have made. I believe that it is historically important, and given his constitutional role and given the life and death of kings and queens is part of the Shakespearean tale of the monarchy, that it is important to talk about, albeit I obviously am not revealing the specific details of what type of cancer Charles has and the type of treatment he's going through. But I think from a historical context, what we have to look at, Lee, is that the power is very, very quickly shifting to Prince William. However, I am told categorically that Charles has no intention of abdicating, that he absolutely believes that what his mother did was right, and that was serve until the very end. I mean, remember, just 2 days before her death, she was there to greet the new Prime Minister, Liz Truss. Is that your understanding, Lee? And is it the right decision? Or are you in the camp of this growing group of modernizers who say that the best thing for the British royal family would be for Charles to formally hand the throne to his eldest son?
No, Dan, I'm not in that camp. I'm in the same camp as you. It's very important that the king. It's so cruel because this has been a very short reign, and it followed on a reign that was really hard to step into. Queen Elizabeth, the beloved late monarch, who had a 70-year reign that really marked an era. But historically, British monarchs don't abdicate. Edward VII died in, I don't want to say in office, but, during his reign. George V died during his reign. George VI, all of those after protracted illnesses, not sort of slow motion illnesses that people were able to witness a decline of health. And that's what's very distressing with King Charles, is that, with social media, we see day to day how he looks. People pronounce that he's looking awful. And that tears at my heart, Dan. It really does. Because I see a man who's very dedicated to his role, which his reign, as we just said, is going to be one of the shortest ever. And it absolutely guts me. But I believe that the king took a solemn oath the same way that his mother did, and that he's inspired to serve. And she said on her 25th birthday, her whole reign, whether it be long or short. And happily, her reign was long, and sadly, it looks that his reign will be short.
Yeah, very much, and it is indeed very sad. But I agree with Tom Sykes of The Royalist, who really says that the British mainstream media, by pretending that this isn't happening, are letting down their readers and their viewers. I think it's very important to note, when you speak about the former monarchs, Lee, it was such a different world, wasn't it? It was a world before social media, and it was a world where these types of stories would quite literally be covered up. I mean, there were situations where the American newspapers would be reporting the fact that the king had cancer, and the British media simply would not. The problem is we can see things with our own eyes now. And remember, it was Charles who went down this road of transparency by first revealing that he was going in for this prostate treatment. That was something that we never really saw from Prince Philip and the late Queen Elizabeth II, who both had had very long-running cancer battles in the final years of their life, but never went public, even with the most broad detail. I mean, we literally never heard the C word used in relation to either the former Duke of Edinburgh or the late Queen Elizabeth II, even though they were both battling cancer, in Prince Philip's case, by the way, for years before he died. So I do think we have to acknowledge the reality of the new world that we're in.